Hello everyone, in this video I'll be speaking about the default in switch statements. So default is optional. You can use it if none of the available cases were matched, in other words, for any invalid cases. So for example, when we run this program, let me just show you. This is from the previous video in case you wanted to watch it. If I want to exit the program, I can just choose X and exit. But if I enter any other character that is not any of these, then the user is not really told much. Sometimes you don't really want to tell the user. Displaying the menu again, probably the user will be like, oh, okay, I probably entered the wrong operator. But if you want the user to know that something's gone wrong, then you can have that default statement. So I'm going to exit. And let's go ahead and do that. So our default is basically just the default keyword. This is going to be the statement that will be executed if none of the above cases happened or were matched. Okay, so let's see out a line and tell the user that something went wrong so that they have an idea of what happened. So here we are saying invalid operator. Don't forget a semicolon, which I tend to forget. And let's compile and run. So now if I put an L, it's an invalid operator. But you always want to test everything, even if you've tested the previous ones before. So just make sure everything still runs as expected. But if I say X now, it's going to say an invalid operator and exits. But that's not what we want to display to the user, because the users decided to actually terminate the program. So what we can do is we can have this condition here, and we say if the operator is not equal to X, then display that. One other thing that I wanted to mention is if this is the last statement in your switch, here break is optional. But I think it's always a good practice to include it anyway, just in case you end up putting more cases after this, which won't be good. So unless you're very certain that your default statement is the last, maybe you can probably skip this one. But I would keep it anyway as a good practice, so that's what I would do. So the other thing is, in this case, let's run it. And now when we say X, that invalid operator message is not displayed to the user. We can have an else, if you like, to be a little bit, more clear to the user. And you can just say by. So in that case, it will display by if it's X. Then it will display invalid operator if it's any other operator that's any other character that is not with these any of these four. So in this case, so let's try P. So that's an invalid operator, and of course these are all valid. So these all are valid cases. And the divide, sorry, that's not really showing well. But now if I say L, it's an invalid operator, and X is by, which is working as expected. Now we can actually an alternative way to writing this. We can take this out and put it in the while loop, put it after the while loop, because this will display only if the user's putting the value or the character X. And that way we can just make our program a little bit more efficient and a little bit shorter in code. So now let's give it a test. So this is a valid operator, a valid case. Now that's an invalid case. And this is a goodbye. Or you can just skip this part if you like. It is totally up to you. But that's what I wanted to speak about in this video, and I hope it was helpful to you. And I'll see you in future ones. Thank you.